2015, there was really only one provider that was providing that information to law enforcement, and that was Verizon. In some instances, Sprint was in 2015 again. The problem with the timing advance records, those records are kept by a very short time by the phone provider. So you can get a call detail records, again, the towers and sectors, for a phone going back a year. 365 days is the shortest time period. But for your timing advance records, the shortest time period is 7 days. So Verizon only keeps timing advance records because there's just so much of it for 7 days before it purges it from its network. So in 2015, those were the types of records that were available.
When did the FBI CAS team start utilizing time in advance?
So I came into CAS in 2015 and got certified in 2016, and we were using timing advance in 2016. But again, it's kept for such a very short time period that a lot of law enforcement don't have time by the time they identify a phone number to get those records before the records are purged by the system.
Agent Bernie, I'm going to turn to page 9 of this report. And if you can, there is a old school pointer, wooden pointer behind you, if that will aid you. So, Agent Bernie, was one of the cell phones you were requested to analyze a phone number ending in 5991 associated with a Kenneth Copeland?
It was.
What was the time range that you were requested to analyze for that device associated with Kenneth Copeland?
As you can see, it's listed underneath here. So January 10th, roughly 6:30 a.m. in the morning, up until the next day, January 11th, a couple minutes past midnight.
Agent Bernie, looking at this slide, when it comes up on the screen, can you describe for the jury what these icons are that are red, yellow, and green?
Yes. Your Honor, may I stand?
Yes, you may.
So for each of these map slides, they're going to be oriented the same. So at the top of the slide, we'll see the phone activity. So again, this one lists January 10th, 2015, and it lists the time period. So this is between 6:37 and 7:26 p.m. So 6:37 a.m. to 7:26 p.m. That's what's shown on this slide here. Each slide will have a slightly different time period. The phone number for the activity listed is going to be in that top left-hand corner there. So again, this is a phone number ending in 5991 associated with Mr. Copeland there. The different locations of interest that I was given will also show up on the slide. So here we have the crime scene for this homicide location, again listed at 330 McDaniel Street, Southwest. You see that as a red box with the letter CS that's located there. We have a residence. It's going to be listed as a yellow box with the letters QR listed here. And then a green store with an address of 322 Glen Street, Southwest. You see that is a green box with the letter the number 1 listed in there. One thing you also see on this slide is a lot of black dots. Those dots are cell phone towers operated by
Copeland's.
So again, you see that at the top, 6:37 a.m. on the 10th to 7:26 p.m. also on the 10th.
Now, Agent Bernie, can you show the jury where and at what time the first call is that's depicted on this slide?
So the first call here is at 6:37 p.m. can see it's pointing towards this tower here. Again, we can tell which side or sector of the tower that was used, because this tower has a sector on the north side being used and also on the southwest side. We can tell which sector is used by this number located in here. Again, that's the compass heading or number of degrees of the sector. So at 6:37 and 21 seconds a.m., which is the first call, it shows there was an outgoing call that used sector oriented toward 330. So again, the north side, 330 degrees up here. The next call, 6:38 and 47 seconds, an outgoing call. Now the phone is using this side of sector here, because we see it went from 330 to 220, which is this side or sector down.
And Agent Bernie, after that 6:38 a.m. call, when is the next call?
So the next call is in this call out box here at the bottom left. It's 1:31 and 41 seconds. We see the tower and sector used here. Again, that would put the device in this general area.
And after that 1:31 call, what is the first call and time after that?
So again, same tower, same sector. There's one at 6:20 p.m. down here. Again, using same tower, same sector, puts that device there. There's several 6:20 through about 7:01, all using this same tower, same sector.
And from that specific tower and sector from 1:31 p.m. to 7:01 p.m., how would you describe that device in relation to 178 Maury Avenue, the yellow QR on the screen?
So again, one thing you'll notice here, right, is there's a tower here, there's a tower here, there's a tower here. We see the sectors are also populated. One thing to remember, again, think of that sprinkler head analogy, right? These are 3 sprinkler heads. There's going to be overlap area probably somewhere in the middle along it. So again, this tower and sector, again, would probably be in this general area, but it could be in an overlap area around here as well.
And Agent Bernie, after that 7:01 p.m. call, what is the next call and tower location?
So the next one here is at 7:24. We can see the tower and sector here. And then right after that is a 7:25. 09, it uses this side over here. And then there's a call at 7:24 and 7:26 and 45 seconds that's now using this side up here.
With that 7:24:09 call, where is that call in relation to 178 Maury Avenue?
Again, in the general vicinity.
And does this slide have a scale on this map?
It does. There should be a scale. It looks like it should be a little bit further down. There's a scale right underneath here.
And using that scale, how far approximately is 178 Maury Avenue to 330 McDaniel Street, the red crime scene icon?
So straight line distance between this and here is approximately 5 kilometers or about 3 miles. Again, straight line distance, a little bit over 3 miles.
Is there any data with the phone associated with Kenneth Copeland that places him in 330 McDaniel Street at 7:22 p.m.?
No. Again, we have 7:01 down in here, and then 7:24 in this general area here. 7:25 now this tower. 7:26 now this tower and sector here. So again, if the question was at 7:22, I would say the device was somewhere in this general area down here.
And if there's not a call received or made, are you able to plot the tower location for any phone?
Yeah. So again, for the call detail records in 2015, we're relying solely on activity placed, which are calls and some text messages, depending upon the network.
And is there or what is the amount of time between the 7:01:58 p.m. incoming call and the 7:24:09 p.m. call?
Yeah, so those are about 23 minutes. Again, the 7:01 call uses this tower here, the 7:24 uses this tower here. Again, approximately 23 minutes between those two calls.
And Agent Bernie, I wanted to ask you a question about some of the numbers that are being called on this slide. Do you see any calls to a 4090?
I do.
Can you, do you see any calls to a 7604?
Yes, there are. There's several right here, 7604, 7604, and then there's some over on this side as well.
How many of the calls are between the device associated with Mr. Copeland and the 4090 and 7604 on this slide?
Total combined?
Combined. Yes, sir.
Uh, 11.
And in total, how many total calls are there on this slide?
14.
If you were ever asked or requested to or have you ever been asked or requested or conducted who a phone number calls in terms of who physically possesses said device?
I mean, I've been asked to put together basically a calling, analysis. So, hey, who's the most called number by this device? And then we look up that device and it's, this individual. And therefore, hey, if that's the most common called by the phone number in question, then, maybe it's someone important to that phone. So yes, we've done some basic toll analysis.
Agent Bernie, I'm going to publish slide 11. Is this a continuation of the cell tower that we just saw for Mr. Copeland?
Yes, it is.
And on the previous slide, what was the last call time?
On the previous slide, 7:26 and 45 seconds was the last one. And then the next one on this one is 7:28.
Can you describe for the jury where that tower and sector is for this 7:28 phone call?
Yeah, we see it here. Again, it points towards this tower and this sector here. So again, the tower is located.
If we get through this witness, we'll
It provides
have some better witnesses. They won't be so slow.
Is the device associated with Mr. Copeland for that 7:28 call in relation to the green store at 322 Glen Street Southwest?
So again, you see the green store is going to be this green box right here. So that tower and sector is actually the closest tower and sector to the green store there. And it would most likely provide coverage to the green store at that point in time.
With the slide we just discussed with the cell phone activity near Deshaun Quarterman's house, what is the travel from slide 10 to this current slide at the 7:28 call?
So again, the previous call was at 7:26, and that was using this tower here, but again, this side over here. So again, at 7:26, the device is somewhere in this general area, and then we can see at 7:28, so approximately 2 minutes later, the device is in this general area.
And what is the last four of the phone call for that 7:28 call? And is it I'll ask you that first.
Yep, so it's 0102. We see that number listed there.
And is it an incoming or outgoing call?
It's an incoming call to the Copeland device.
Now, after that incoming call from 0102, where is the next call with the device associated with Mr. Copeland?
So we can see the next call is at 7:43 and 29 seconds. We can see the tower here that's used, and again, that sector would provide coverage
And after that tower, CID 3152, where does it travel, or what is the next tower the phone utilizes?
Yeah, so then the device travels to this one down here at 749. You can see the tower and sector used here. And then there's, I think it's cut off on the zoom part down here, but there's another tower and sector used at 751 that's south of that. So again, basically it's 728, the device is in this general area, and then it starts to move southbound, ending up down here at 751.
And
Yeah.
Agent Bernie, for that last tower you were discussing, could you, if you don't mind, use the screen behind you? Just because I do think it's a little bit cut off.
Yeah, so 751 is this tower and this sector here. So again, this is the 74904 is this same one that's listed right here. And now we can see just underneath that is this one at 751. So again, on the big screen, it would just be located, down here a little bit further.
Now, Agent Bernie, I'm going to publish page 42. Agent Bernie, can you describe for the jury, you see this says 678-2785-991 has one event?
It does, right here. This tower right here.
And is that the same call we were just discussing?
It was. You can see it as 751.36.
And what is that orange M icon on this slide?
So that orange icon there is a location of a McDonald's at 150 Cleveland Avenue Southwest, Atlanta.
So when that 751 call was made, where was the device associated with Kenneth Copeland in relation to the McDonald's at 150 Cleveland Avenue?
So again, it's in this general area here. It's within the tower and sector that would provide coverage to the McDonald's.
Going back, Agent Bernie, to the slide we were just discussing, and while I'm pulling that up, how do the icons get populated on your report?
Yeah, so locations are provided to me, either a street address or a latitude, longitude. Those go into our mapping software, and then we put them on the map. And we can basically show which icons on the maps we want to show and which ones we do not, based on the time. So that way, if we, in this case, obviously I was last asked to look at this incident, but several others. So there were dozens of icons. So if I kept them all on the map, it would get kind of confusing as to what's relevant and what's not. So we're able to toggle off ones that are not relevant during this time period.
So to be clear, Agent Bernie, that on this slide, page 11, that 751 call, although there's not an orange M icon, that is the call that's in the general area of the McDonald's?
Correct. Yeah, the McDonald's icon, if it was on there, would show up right here, basically near the intersection of these two roads right there.
So, Agent Bernie, what is the last four of the call that the device associated with Mr. Copeland makes at that 7:51 p.m. call?
The last four are 0102.
Now, I'm going to publish slide 12. What is the time frame for slide 12?
We can see it at the top, 8:22 p.m. to 10:41.
And Agent Bernie, when is the first call depicted on this slide after the 7:51 p.m. we just saw?
So we can see this says 8:22 p.m. We see the tower and the sector right here. So again, here's I-20, and this is 75, 85. So again, in this general area.
Agent Bernie, how much time, what is the amount of time between 7:51 call and this 8:22 p.m. call?
Approximately 30 minutes.
And does this map before us have a scale?
It does.
Roughly how far is the McDonald's at 150 Cleveland Avenue Southwest to the teal icon of 1080 West Peachtree indicated as Williams Condo?
Just give me 1 second. So straight line distance is about 8 or 9 kilometers from the M here to this WC here, which again stands for the Williams Condo. So approximately 9 kilometers, which maybe 4 miles and some change.
And is there any major highway between 150 Cleveland Avenue and 1080 West Peachtree Street Northwest that's depicted on this slide?
There is. You can see here is the 85 down here, 75, 85 kind of interstate.
Can you show the jury the tower and sector for this 8:22 p.m. call from the device associated with Mr. Copeland?
Again, it's using this device here. Using this tower, I'm sorry, right here in this general area.
And Agent Bernie, with the gap of time we just discussed, if the device was traveled from the McDonald's at 150 Cleveland Avenue to 1080 West Peachtree Street, and then has that call at 8:22 p.m., how would you, what are your, how would you, is that possible?
Are you asking is it possible from the 751 to get from the McDonald's to here and then here at 8:22?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, I would say it's probably possible. I think 751, again, there's 30 minutes. This is approximately, what did I say, 4, almost 5 miles there. So yeah, I think in that time period, you could potentially get from here to there to back into this general area here.
And how far approximately is that tower location at the 8:22 p.m. call to 1080 West Peachtree Street?
Maybe 4 kilometers, so under 2 miles, probably from here to, this general area here, under 2 miles. Again, estimate.
And Agent Bernie, do you see on this slide the numbers we had discussed earlier, 4090, that end in 4090 and or 7604?
I do.
And how many times do those two numbers appear in the device associated with Copeland's phone in this time frame depicted on the screen?
7.
And Agent Bernie, do you see, or I'll ask you this, the call we were just discussing, the 8:22 p.m. call, what is the last 4 and who is that call associated with?
So again, we see that call right here, the 8:22. It's an outgoing call from the Copeland device to this phone number here, 404-662-8935.
And Agent Bernie, there's a lot of numbers. The page 7 of this report, can you reference page 7 that has and I'm going to ask you if that 8935 appears on that page?
It does.
Who is the device ending in 8935 associated with?
Mr. Sledge.
And Agent Bernie, do you see any other calls after that 8:22 p.m. call between the device associated with Mr. Copeland and the device associated with Mr. Sledge?
I do.
Can you tell the jury where those calls are depicted and the time?
Yeah, so we see those as 8:39 p.m. here, and then which using this tower and specifically this side or sector here, and then at 9:02 there's another call, and now it's using this tower and sector over here.
And Agent Burney, do you see any calls to 5726, a phone number ending in 5726?
I do.
And I'm going to ask you to utilize the phone numbers on page 7 to see if 5726 is a number associated with a person.
5726, yes it is.
Who is that associated with?
Mr. Zachary.
And Agent Burney, of the towers on this slide, is there any that are in the general area of Deshaun Quarterman's residence?
Is that
the QR yellow
QR
icon?
is down here. So again, this tower and sector would provide coverage in this general area here, and we see calls using that at 9:23. And this tower and sector would provide coverage in this general area, probably not directly at the Quarterman residence, but in the general area here. Again, that's at 8:31.
Agent Burney, what is the last call depicted on this slide? And can you show the jury where that tower and sector is located?
Yeah, so the last call is at 10:41, an incoming call here. You can see the tower and the sector. Again, puts the device now kind of north and west of Atlanta in this general area.
Agent Burney, I am publishing slide 13. What is the time frame depicted on this slide?
So we can see at the top, this starts at January 10th at 11:06 p.m. and goes into the 11th at 12:07 a.m.
And Agent Burney, can you walk the jury through, with the towers depicted, the movement or travel of the device associated with Mr. Copeland in this window of time?
Yes, so the first activity is at 11:06. We see the tower and sector here. Again, that would put that kind of in the downtown Atlanta area. The next call and sector we have, or tower sector we have, is up here near the Williams condo location. That's at 11:14 and 11:17. Then we see the device now is moved again southbound, 11:24 p.m. We see the tower and sector that's used here. And then the last tower and sector we have is this tower here. It uses both the north side and the south side. Approximately 11:44 p.m. till the last call of 12:07, which you guys can see here. So again, in this general area here, 11:44 to 12:07 a.m.
And Agent Burney, the tower at the top, CID 3102, is there two calls, the first being at 11:14 p.m.?
There is.
And where is given that tower location, where is that tower in relation to 1080 West Peachtree, labeled as Williams condo on this slide?
Yeah, so again, you can see the Williams condo with the address. It's square right here with the WC in it. Again, this is the closest tower and sector in that area.
And Agent Burney, do you see any communication between the device associated with Copeland and the device associated with either Mr. Sledge or Mr. Zachary on this slide?
I do.
And how many times does, from this window of 11:06 p.m. to 12:07 a.m., does the device associated with Mr. Copeland have some communication with the device associated with Mr. Sledge or Mr. Zachary?
Approximately 7 times.
Agent Bernie, I am publishing page 14. Were you ever asked to analyze a 6080 associated with a demise McMullen?
I was.
What was the time frame you were requested to analyze for the phone associated with Mr. McMullen?
You can see it listed here, January 10th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m.
Publishing slide 15. Now, Agent Bernie, do you recall when you were here last, we had the toll analysis board?
I do.
This call, what is the first call on slide 15 for the device associated with Mr. McMullen?
The first slide, or first call here is at 7:29. You can see that outgoing call placed there. Again, you can see the tower and sector that was used for that.
And is that the first call we had discussed when we were referencing the boards?
It was.
Where, when that 7:29 call, was it incoming or outgoing?
It's an outgoing call.
And when the outgoing call from the device associated with Mr. McMullen, whose device associated did he call?
So as you can see here, it's an outgoing call to 3904, device associated with Mr. Woods.
And when that call was made, where was the device associated with Mr. McMullen in relation to 1080 West Peachtree Street associated with as Williams condo?
Yeah, so you can see the Williams condo there. Again, you can see the tower and sector there. It's in close proximity. Again, that tower and sector would be in the potential coverage area for that condo.
And is there two either calls or attempted calls after that 7:29 p.m. depicted on this slide?
There are.
Can you describe for the jury where they are and whose associated device was they were to?
Yep. So we see them here. 7:29 is the first one, and then there's 7:30 and 7:31 and 7:31. Both two outgoing calls. One thing you'll notice, these are Verizon records. We can tell based on the red boxes here, red is associated with Verizon in our system. One thing you'll notice is the seconds. All of these show 00. The records sent by Verizon only had the hour and minute. So again, no seconds recorded in their record. So these calls weren't placed at the exact same second, but they were placed in the same minute, 7:31. My system just shows seconds on it. I just realized that in this time period in 2015, the Verizon seconds are all going to show 00. So we have, during the minute of 7:31, we have two attempted outgoing calls placed by this device associated with Mr. McMullen, and both of those.
Welcome any new members. He's boring.
8008, Mr. Bradford, associated with Mr. Bradford.
And Agent Bernie, are those three calls that we just discussed, are they all the same tower and sector location?
They are.
Now, after that 7:31 call to the device associated with Mr. Bradford, where is the next tower?
So again, we have this one here at 7:31, tower and sector here, and again, this general area. The next one here is at 7:38, and here's the general area of that device there. So it's moved from this spot southbound.
And that 7:38 call, is that outgoing or incoming?
Incoming call.
And is that incoming call associated with any person you were asked to analyze?
It is Mr. Treadwell.
After that 7:38 call from Mr. Treadwell, where does the device associated with Mr. McMullen go next?
Yeah, so 738, then it uses this tower down here at 739, and then eventually this tower down here at 750.
And
So Atkins do have
Agent
his
Bernie,
stuff together.
who is the 739 call associated with?
739 call, again, which uses this tower sector here, you can see is associated with also Mr. Treadwell.
And what is the last four of the number? Well, I'll get to that in a second. Where is the call? Where's the next tower in location after that call?
The next tower in sector is down here at 750.
And who is that call at 752?
It's an outgoing call, again, to the device associated to Mr. Treadwell.
And Agent Bernie, what is this blue, dark blue icon associated address, 35 Oak Drive Southwest? How is that depicted on the slide?
Yeah, so again, this was another address I was just asked to place on the slides, associated address. We can see it as a blue square with the number 2 in there.
And Agent Bernie, with the 750 outgoing call to the device associated with Mr. Treadwell, where is the phone associated with Mr. McMullen in relation to 35 Oak Drive Southwest, Atlanta, Georgia?
Yeah, so that 750 call here, again, we see the tower in the sector. The address, the associated address would be in the footprint of that tower in the sector.
And Agent Bernie, does this map have a scale?
It does. You can see it at the bottom down here.
How close approximately is the blue icon for 35 Oak Drive Southwest and the orange M for the McDonald's at 150 Cleveland Avenue Southwest?
So between these 2 points here, approximately a mile straight line distance.
Is there any gaps between the phone calls we just discussed, starting with 7:38 p.m. or 7:39 p.m. and 7:50?
No, there's no other activity during that time period.
And Agent Bernie, after that 7:50 outgoing call, at the bottom of the screen, where does the device associated with Mr. McMullen travel next?
So next is another call at 753. We see the tower and sector used, again, going to be in this general area here.
And where does it travel next?
The next activity is at 759, and we see the tower and sector used here. Now it's, again, here's that I-20 85 interchange. It's north and east up in this area.
So in general, Agent Bernie, from that call at 7:29 p.m. till the last call depicted on this slide at 7:59 p.m., what is the general direction of travel for the device associated with Mr. McMullen?
So the device has activity in this general area the last time at 7:31. We then see the device travel southbound, eventually using this tower and sector here in close proximity to this associated address number 2 at 7:50. And then shortly thereafter, we see the device start moving northbound again. And this slide ends at 7:59. You can see the tower and sector used there again, just north of that I-20 85 interchange.
And Agent Bernie, the two numbers on this slide that end in 0102 that don't have a name associated with it, do you see those?
I do.
Is that or is that not the same phone number that the device we looked at of Mr. Copeland interacted with when at 7:51 p.m.?
It is the same phone number, yes.
Agent Bernie, I'm going to publish slide 16. What is the first call on this slide?
So again, this is the review period between 8:01 and 8:30 p.m. Still on the 10th. The first activity we have is at 8:21. You see it there. It's an outgoing call to the device associated with Mr. Treadwell. You see the tower and sector of that device used right there.
And for that 821 outgoing call to the device associated with Kevin Treadwell, where is the device associated with Mr. McMullen in relation to 1080 West Peachtree Street Northwest?
Again, you can see the towers and sectors used. I would say that that tower and sector would provide coverage in this general area here that would also include the Williams.
So between the first call we looked at 7:29 p.m. to this 8:21 p.m. call, what is the general movement of the device associated with Mr. McMullen?
Yeah, so it departed, again, the area around the Williams condo, 731, went south near that associated address number 2 at 7:50 p.m. had an activity down there, and then moved back north, eventually arriving in the area around the Williams condo at 8:21, having activity in that area around 8:21.
Agent Bernie, I am publishing slide 17. Were you ever asked to analyze a phone number ending in 3145 associated with a Justin Cobb?
I was.
What was the time frame you were asked to analyze that phone number?
Again, I looked at between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. on the 10th.
Agent Bernie, can you indicate for the jury and show them where the first call, the time and tower and sector for the first call from this phone?
Yeah, so again, looked at 6:30 to 8:30. Right? The thing to remember is, again, we can only see towers and sectors associated with activity. So this device during that time period only had 2 activities. The first of which is at 7:31 and 37 seconds. And we see that's an outgoing call. And we see the tower and sector used, again, would be one in close proximity to the Williams condo on West Peachtree Street.
And Agent Bernie, I'm republishing slide 15. Where is the device associated with Justin Cobb at 7:31 p.m. in relation to the device associated with Mr. McMullen at 7:31 p.m.?
Yeah, so those devices, again, are in the same general area. Obviously, with call detail records, we can't say specifically where a device is, but we can say a general area based on the towers. And both of those devices, again, would be in the general area around the Williams condo at 7:31.
And Agent Bernie, is the calls from the device associated with Mr. McMullen and the calls associated with the device of Justin Cobb, are they calling the same number or receiving calls from the same number?
They are.
And who is associated with that number?
That's a device associated with Mr. Brad. See it right there.
Republishing slide 18. Agent Bernie, how long a gap in time is there between the 7:31 p.m. outgoing call to the device associated with Mr. Bradford and the next call depicted on the slide?
Yeah, so the next call, it's hard to see on the Zoom down there, but it's down here. You can see it on the bottom of the slide at 8:29 p.m. So again, 7:31 to 8:29, just under an hour.
Publishing slide 19. Were you ever asked to analyze the phone ending in 8935 associated with an Antonio Sledge?
I was.
And what was the time frame you were asked to analyze that phone?
Again, reviewed roughly the same time. This is 6:20 to 8:22 on the 10th.
Publishing slide 20. What is the time and location of this call depicted on slide 20?
So again, the only activity during this time time period for this device associated with Mr. Sledge is at 6:20 p.m. on the 10th, and we can see the tower and sector. Again, that puts that device somewhere in this general area.
And who is the outgoing call at 6:20? Is it to any other phone number that you were asked to analyze?
I was. It's associated to Mr. Zach.
Publishing slide 21. Agent Bernie, can you explain this single tower, but what's depicted there from 7:55 to 8:22 p.m.?
Yep. So again, activity of the same device ending in 8939 35 associated with Mr. Sledge, 7:55, 8:22 p.m. You can see the tower here, and it actually used two different sectors. One we see is associated with 30, and one says -1. The -1 there just shows that the tower list didn't specifically have the sector orientation. I had to go back and verify that with the provider themselves. So in this case, this is an AT&T device. So AT&T provided that the azimuth for what's listed here as -1 is actually 90 degrees. So what we see is, again, tower and sector activity between 7:55 and 8:22 puts the device in this general area here, as it used, two sides of the same tower.
And Agent Bernie, in this window from 7:55 to 8:22 p.m. depicted on slide 21, is there any communication between the device associated with Mr. Sledge and the device associated with Mr. Zachary?
There is.
Can you show the jury the time of those communications?
Yeah, so the Mr. Zachary associated device is the 5726 last four. So we see one at 7:55, and then we see one again at 7:56.
And
outgoing calls.
Agent Bernie, who is associated with the phone number ending in 5991?
That device is associated to Mr. Copeland.
And is there a call between the device of Mr. Sledge and the device of Mr. Copeland depicted on this slide?
There is 8:22 p.m. an incoming call to Mr. Sledge's device from Mr. Copeland's device.
Agent Bernie, I'm publishing slide 22. Were you ever asked to analyze a phone number associated with Mr. Bradford ending in 8008?
I was.
What was the time frame you were asked to analyze that device?
Again, we have 6:36 p.m. to 8:27 p.m., both on the 10th.
Publishing slide 23. Agent Bernie, can you walk the jury through the movement of the device associated with Mr. Bradford with the towers depicted from 6:36 p.m. to 7:19 p.m.?
Again, so again, this slide, January 10th, 6:36 to 7:19 p.m. Again, location of interest was the crime scene at 330 McDaniel Street. See that as the red box there. The first call during this time period is this one down here. It's hard to see, but it says 6:36 p.m. We see the device is in this general area. 6:38, the device is now using this tower and sector here, has moved northbound. And then at 6:52, we see the device now using this tower and sector here, uses that at 6:52. 6:56, now we're using this tower and sector here, and then eventually it bounces back to this one here at 7:12, 7:14, and 7:19.
Now, Agent Bernie, from that first call at 6:36 p.m. In what appears to be Peoplestown from the map, do you see that?
I do.
When does the device associated with Bradford or the travel from that Peoplestown Tower till the last call at 7:19 p.m. How is that movement in relation to the crime scene at 330 McDaniel Street?
Yeah, so the initial call, 636, again, down here in the south side of the slide, moves up to the I-2085 interchange area, and then it moves westbound, first having an activity in this general area here at 652, and then again, it uses this tower, bounces to this tower, and bounces back to this tower again. Again, think of the sprinkler system, right? There's going to be some overlap between the two. We have this tower initially, then we bounce to this one, then we bounce back, which means that there's probably in some of the overlap between this tower and this tower here. And then eventually 719 is the last call mapped on this slide.
So Agent Bernie, to be clear, between 6:52 p.m. and 7:19 p.m. is the device associated with Mr. Bradford in the general area of 330 McDaniel Street.
Yes, again, I can't specifically say it, but I would say it's in the overlap between those two, and that overlap would be, again, in this general area here.
Publishing slide 24. When is the next call after the 7:19 p.m. call?
The next activity is at 7:24, and we can see the device has moved again from where it was up in the vicinity of the crime scene. Now it's moved south and east over here at 7:24.
And Agent Bernie, do you remember when you testified first? We published two Yankee, which was a CAD report.
Yes.
How long after that 911 call was received is this call at 7:24 p.m. depicted at the top of this slide?
I think approximately 2 minutes.
And after that call, Agent Bernie, where does the device associated with Bradford travel?
So it goes from this area here to, again, this area down here. It's hard to see. We'll jump to this screen here. But it's in the vicinity of that associated address number 2. It gets down there approximately 7:31 and has some activity in that area until 8:08.
And Your Honor, maybe take a brief
Sure, let's
comfort
take
break.
our morning break.
Thank you, Your Honor. I didn't want to trip over this cord and my computer died.
Well,
There's a
yeah,
delay, so
No problem.
thank you. I'll be in recess, Your Honor.
Yes, let's take 10 or 15 minutes.
when we
Okay, I think we have everybody. All right, let's get the jury back. Hey, Laura, is it still like 60 something?
Where is Miss Love? It's so quiet without her.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state is republishing slide 24. Agent Bernie, picking up, where does the device associated with Mr. Bradford travel after that 7:24 p.m. call?
Yeah, it's 7:24. It moves from this general area here, southbound, and uses a tower and sector here. Again, on this screen, we can see a little bit better. That's in the general area associated with associated address number 2 between 7:31 and 8:08 p.m.
Agent Bernie, within that time frame of 7:31 p.m. to 8:08 p.m., starting at the top, do you see any phone calls with other numbers you analyzed?
I do.
Where are they at the top?
Yep. So the first one is that we see is this Justin Cobb, an incoming call to the Bradford device, 7:31 and 50 seconds. And then the next one down is a incoming call at 7:31 and 53 seconds to the McMullen device.
And Agent Bernie, when at that 7:31 call, where is the devices associated with Mr. Cobb and the devices associated with Mr. McMullen on these two 7:31 p.m. calls at that time?
Well,
And
can you repeat that question again?
Yes. Do you see the location here for those 7:31 calls at 7:31 and 50 milliseconds and 7:31 and 53 milliseconds?
Seconds, yes, right here.
I am going to republish slide 15. Do you see on slide 15 that 7:31 p.m. call between the device associated with Mr. Bradford and the device associated with Mr. McMullen?
I do. The McMullen device, 7:31 p.m. Again, using a tower and sector in the general vicinity of the Williams complex.
And Agent Bernie, I'm going to publish slide 18. Do you see that call at 7:31 p.m. between the device associated with Mr. Bradford and the device associated with Mr. Cobb?
I do.
And where is the device associated with Mr. Cobb at that point in time?
Again, using a tower and sector in the vicinity of the Williams complex.
Going back to slide 24. Agent Bernie, do you see the call, or do you see that the device associated with Mr. Bradford has a call at 7:47 p.m.?
I do.
And is that in the general area of 35 Oak Drive, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia?
It is.
Agent Bernie, I'm going to publish slide 15. Do you see a call on slide 15 at 7:50 p.m.?
I do.
And is this 3 minutes after the call that we just discussed with Mr. Bradford?
It is.
And where is the device associated with Mr. McMullen at 7:50 p.m.?
Again, using the tower and sector here in close proximity to the general area associated with associated address numbers.
So is the device associated with Mr. McMullen and a device associated with Mr. Bradford at 7:47 p.m. or 7:50 p.m.? Where are they in relation to one another?
They're in the same general area around associated address number 2.
Going back to slide 24. After that, or what is the only other tower depicted on slide 24 that is that we have not discussed?
You know, there's a tower here, out here, that's used for an outgoing call.
Agent Bernie, I'm publishing slide 25. What are, or where is the movement of the device associated with Mr. Bradford between 8:17 and 8:27?
So again, the slide covers that time period, 8:17 to 8:27. We see the tower and sector used. Again, put that device in this general area here, 8:17 to 8:23. And then we have activity on this tower and sector over here to the west at 8:27.
Agent Bernie, I am publishing slide 26. Were you ever asked to analyze a phone number ending in 3904 associated with Jeffrey Williams?
I was.
And what was the time frame that you were requested to analyze?
Yeah, so I looked at calls between 7:03 and 8:22 p.m. on the 10th.
Publishing slide 27. Now, Agent Bernie, when is the first call on this slide?
First call is at 7:03. We see the tower and sector here used. And we can see this tower was used at 7:03 to 7:31.
And when is the next, or do you see a call at 7:03:39?
I do.
Is that call at 7:03:39 to any devices you were requested to analyze?
It is. It's to the 1990 device associated with Miss Dolly Group.
And after the 7:03:39 call?
7:29 and 30 seconds, an incoming call from the McMullen device. Sorry.
Now, how much of a gap in time is there between 7:03:39 p.m. and 7:29:30 p.m.?
Approximately 26 minutes.
And with the records with the call detail record, able to plot any tower locations between that window of time?
No, again, we're dependent upon phone activity during that time period.
Now, after that gap in time, who is the device associated with Jeffrey Williams communicating with, and at what time?
Between the 7:03 and 7:31.
Between 7:03 and 7:29, or at 7:29.
Yep. So you have the 7:03 call again with Dolly Greer, and then a 7:29 incoming call from the McMullen device.
And for all of these calls depicted on this slide, is the device associated with Williams? Where is it in relation to 1080 West Peachtree Street?
Again, we can see the tower and sector that's used here. One thing to note is this is T-Mobile, right? All the green dots. There's a lot more green dots than in some of the other providers, right? So T-Mobile loves putting lots of smaller towers in there, and some of which are taller towers. I obviously didn't look up every tower in here, but I did look up the tower that was used here at 703 to 731. And this is a very large tower. It's about 156 feet, I think, in height. So again, that would, again, put that phone in this general area.
And Agent Bernie, where is the device associated with Mr. McMullen located at when this 7:29 p.m. call is made?
So it's also in the same general area here. Obviously, it's a different provider. The McMullen device is a Verizon, and we saw in the previous slide, I think it used a, like a tower located right here. There's a Verizon tower that would have put the device again in the general area of the Williams condo. So these two devices are in the same general area.
And Agent Bernie, looking at your slide 7 with the phone numbers analyzed, who was the phone number ending in 9596 associated with?
Miss Dora Greer.
And so this last call on slide 27, is that the same number, 9596?
It is.
Although it has Jeffrey Williams listed there, is the associations provided to you by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office for this case associate that number with Dora Greer?
It does. Yeah. So when I originally put in all the phone numbers and associated names provided to me by law enforcement, we went off of the subscriber's name, which was in Williams. But then afterwards, it was identified that that number was being utilized by Ms. Dora Greer. However, my system just shows, again, that it's Williams, but know that the 9596 is actually associated to Ms. Dora Greer.
Agent Bernie, I am publishing slide 28. So after that 7:29 p.m. call we just discussed on the slide before, where does the device associated with Jeffrey Williams travel?
Yeah, so the next activity is 7:33. You see it down here, but it kind of cuts off some of the bottom. So at 7:33, there's an outgoing call to the Treadwell device. Again, the device associated with Mr. Williams is in the general area of the associated address.
Now, Agent Bernie, going back to slide 27, do you see the 7:31 p.m. call we just discussed?
I do.
Now, publishing slide 28, can you explain for the jury, does that tower at 7:33, how long after is that call?
Approximately 2 minutes.
Is that a small, average, or large distance to travel in 2 minutes?
That was a large distance.
Can you explain for the jury some, what do you make of that, or how do you?
And the tower used on the previous slide, I think it's about 7 to 8 kilometers. Again, that's about 4.5, 5 miles approximate. Don't hold me to the map there. And that's about 2 minutes in between those two calls. What's in discussing this with T-Mobile folks and other folks within our industry, if you go back page 27. What we believe happened is
I'll propose an objection to confrontation clause.
Response?
Your Honor, I need to approach to appropriately respond, but it'll be brief. You,
If,
Have
I don't know
you
if were
worked-
Standing or sitting, if you're not using that, you feel free to sit.
Agent Bernie, have you worked with records from cell phone providers that are from the years 2015 or older?
I have.
And when specifically related to towers, have you ever heard of the phrase camping on a tower?
I have.
Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so again,
Overruled.
You may answer, Agent Bernie.
okay. So again, in the network, when your phone is on, it's scanning the environment, and then the phone picks the tower and sector with the best signal. Sometimes that device will finish a call and just go exactly to the next call, or maybe you ended a call because there was an incoming call and a tower and sector was already assigned and being used by the device. And that device then continues to use that tower and sector. That would be an example of the tower camping or holding on to a tower a little bit past its normal range.
And Agent Bernie, that phenomenon, camping with cell phone towers, how has that changed from 2015 to 2024?
Yeah, 2015, you got to remember that's almost 10 years ago. The technology has obviously advanced. There's more towers. The processing and speed rate of our communication is significantly faster than it was, 9 years ago. So we see less of it now in 2024 than we did in 2019 and earlier.
And Agent Bernie, without stating or relying on any conversation with T-Mobile, based on your training and experience, what is one or what is an explanation for the movement between 731 and 733 on these slides we've just discussed?
Your Honor, I'm going to pose the same objection. I don't believe that foundation is complete.
Well, we'll see whether he can answer it that way, but given the way the question is phrased, I would overrule that objection.
You may answer, Agent Bernie.
Yes, so what we see when we look at page 27, we see an incoming call at 7:29 and 30 seconds. And then the next is a outgoing call placed at 7:31 and 17 seconds. Those two are in close proximity of times to the time period that those two calls. So in my expert opinion, I would say that device obviously still shows that tower and sector as the best signal and was in the footprint, meaning usable coverage area of that tower and sector for both of them. It had to happen, otherwise it would have went to another tower and sector. And then we see the next call again is at 7:33, again, maybe between the two towers, a distance of like 4 miles.
Now, Agent Bernie, I'm publishing slide 28. What is the general movement of the device associated with Jeffrey Williams depicted from 7:33 p.m. to 8 p.m.?
May I stand again?
You may, yeah, please feel free to. I just didn't want you to feel like you had to continue to stand.
So again, 7:33, we see the call using this tower and sector in the area associated near the area of the associated address number 2. We have that call at 7:33, 7:43, and one at 7:55, again using all the same tower and sector. And then we see the device start to move northbound. 7:58, it uses the tower and sector in this area, and then eventually at 8 o'clock, the devices continue to move further. So again, first calls 7:33, last calls start to move in the northbound general area.
How many calls are depicted on this slide between 7:33 and 8 p.m. total that you were able to plot?
5.
How many of those 5 calls are between the device associated with Jeffrey Williams and the device associated with Kevin Treadwell?
3.
Now, Agent Bernie, do you see the call at 7:55 p.m. on this slide?
I do.
And where is the device associated with Jeffrey Williams to the associated address at 35 Oak Drive?
We can see it here. Again, the tower and sector would provide coverage in this general area. So again, I would say the device is in proximity, close proximity to associated address number 2 at 755.
And Agent Bernie, I'm going to republish slide 15. Do you see the 7:50 p.m. call on the device associated with Mr. McMullen on slide 15?
I do. It's kind of cut off right here. You can see the tower and sector here. That's for that 7:50 call right there.
And Agent Bernie, who is the device associated with Mr. McMullen speaking with at this time?
This is a call again to the device associated with Mr. Treadway.
And is the call we just discussed with Defendant Williams' phone, how much time is apart between those two calls?
So this one's 7:50, and the one associated with